feel motivation, I think, because you came back from the journey.
Well, I feel motivation in some stuff, but I mean that I realize I need that external motivation for having like a productive long-term investment. It's difficult to invest long-term in something that I like doing some efforts that's during the handling of the efforts I dislike.
Hmm?
Like I need external motivation to achieve it.
You mean like the gym or something?
In the gym or even longer, like working or like building something up and like not thinking about what do I want to do now, but like what's better to do. I couldn't live on my own. I always need like something and people surrounding me having this. I wouldn't know what to do, and that's I think a point where we differ very hard.
Yeah, I'm very driven alone. Thing. I I don't know. I don't know if I can say I'm driven, but
I'd be the only
I'm
person in the
very.
world I would kill myself. Like
That's just general. Like if I would be the only person in the world, I would also kill it. Like what's that kind of?
Want to explore something?
And what? There is no meaning then. If you're
that's exactly my point. My only meaning comes from external motivation. There's
that's
no
for everybody.
I don't think so. I think people will be like, oh, let's explore stuff, or let's do stuff, or let's build stuff, or I don't know. It's like playing a game single player versus multiplayer.
I don't think there would be a person in the world that if he was the last person in the world that would be really happy. Maybe they say it in the beginning, but in the end you need servers, you need whatever to keep running, electricity, water. You need basic comfort and food and shelter and stuff. And
won't people start like building some shelter in the woods, like and just survive? You know.
At some point you need some connection with.
Yeah, but then like that's
and what's
that's
the connection
extrinsically. You don't then you don't have an intrinsic drive, no?
No, that's what I mean. Like I think everybody has to have some extrinsic driven values.
Yeah.
Otherwise, what are you working towards? Like you can have self-development, that's all good and well, but what is it for if you cannot share it or cannot use it anywhere?
Yeah, but that implies that productivity is
no, it's not it's not the same as productivity, self-development.
Or well that self productivity or self I don't know that
it's not you're not working towards something, just knowing who you are.
yeah. So like, what do people work for then? For social gratification?
That's one of the main reasons, I would say.
In my book, that's extrinsic motivation. If you do something to have like a social status,
that's intrinsic for you.
Extrinsic.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Everything can be related to something extrinsic, I think. Autonomy, competence, relatedness, self-determination. So I think autonomy is something
that's missing with me.
That's intrinsic, I think.
That's something I don't really have. Working on my own, like doing something properly.
But these two, I think, relate to extrinsic factors, right? Competence and relatedness.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't know. Yeah, sure.
So, if you want to drive yourself to do something, I think there always has to be some extrinsic motivation or interest. Otherwise, like, I don't know, maybe there is some Buddha out there who can stay alone, but I think 99.99% of the people would just kill themselves. They were the only ones.
Don't you find that weird?
What?
That you live for this social gratification and having money and having friends and having like that you cannot that life is purely something that has to have a goal and has to have like something like a purpose, a meaning, and you don't have to like, let's have fun alone in the woods, building some cool stuff, not brag about, not show about, just doing my own thing, and let's just appreciate that without having it to show it to someone.
It would be fun the first month or something, but at the end you want to show it to somebody. Like,
So
people are community based
So
creatures.
is everything what you do just a way of like in not the negative way, like bragging rights?
No, I'll use an analogy I was thinking about lately, and it made me actually be more of a believer, take it or not, like
Even in
in,
religion?
in God or in religion
yeah.
or whatever. And it's this sense, like, how do we get to the closest part of ourselves, or the most biological selves or of ourselves? How do we put away all this extra bullshit like reputation and people knowing you, having money, having statue? How do we strip this all away, and how do we get back to what a human lives for, or what a creature lives for? And I was thinking about, where do we come from in a symbolic way, like Adam and Eve, the two first people in the world. Religion, it's just a symbolic way of saying. And they did things that were good and evil, like they were like humans, they explored the Garden of Eden, but they also ate from the apple. And I think for me, that encapsulates the most what a human is supposed to be. Like, 99% we're good, 1% we do something bad, but we also learn from the things we do bad.
Yeah.
And how do we share the good and the bad things is through stories and through communication with others. That's what makes humans such a valuable and such a dominant species. We communicate and we share knowledge with each other, and we interact and we get gratification from each other. Like now, like we're having a really good conversation, and we are both like, "Oh, this is fucking awesome! Like, we live for this."
Yeah, no.
And I think if you would be alone, I don't think many people could actually do that. People would say they want to be alone, but I think most of the people put them in the forest for 1 month. I think 99.99% would.
Yeah, like I know, but that's, I don't know. I find it so weird. But what you said about this, like doing wrong stuff, which I think like if you're going purely into like your existence, I think you just like live with whatever you're doing and not trying to like, oh, everything like money and job and reputation, that's all like this bad stuff, and we all have to shed this to become like the ultimate natural.
No,
Like I think like embracing everything we have, and
that's
saying,
why
like, it's exactly the natural
the
way.
apple. Like,
Yeah,
it's part of what it's meaning to be a human for me. And we pass this meaning from generation on generation, and it evolves in something way bigger than we ever imagined.
so I think like I read a very small like little story booklets about it. It's only I think like 100 pages or something, so it's not even a book. It's called Siddhartha, and like it was one of the followers of Buddha, almost. And it tells basically of that. So I think you would enjoy that. It's also someone who's like, at first he's like, I have to become this because this is good and all the other things are bad. And then like, I have to do it. I have to do it. I have to focus on not being like not being invested in money, not being invested in reputation, all these things. Like I have to be very focused, very focused. And at one point, he's like he like loses his way and splurges and does everything he wants, and then after a while he started feeling bad and everything, but he knew what it was, you know, and then he started like living again, following the path again, but with way less like way less hates about the other stuff, just like appreciation.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, that's life, and now I'm just gonna sit next to the river again.
Appreciation or acceptance, like,
exactly. And
I don't appreciate that I'm addicted to weed, but I accept it for what it is, and I try to work towards a better me.
Yeah, but then like there's still some conflict in that book, which I find really difficult. And then he was like, yeah, and then like the message I got from it is like, yeah, and then I just like now that I felt all of these feelings, now I wasn't like tempted anymore. And so now I just sat by the river, and I don't know how it ended. I'm not gonna spoil it. I don't even remember it. But like
You write the book down.
a lot of these,
Siddharth?
Siddhartha, SIDDA.
Yeah, I think you are referring to Siddhartha from Hermanès.
Yeah, Herman. Like
Hermanès, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the end, that's the book about self-discovery.
Yeah.
And that's all about what you are speaking about. So you are speaking about self-discovery, and you are speaking about good and bad. And we need to understand that good and bad exist as a moral concept, and is dependent on a culture where we are living, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we cannot forget that we are living in a culture with a set of values.
Yeah.
And the problem comes is that when our values or personal values do not fit in the general values of that culture, when that happens, we have a problem. And I think that this happens often with young people, right? Young people are entering the world, the culture is already there, the main values of that culture are already there, but we have the right to decide what are the important values for ourselves, right? We
Yes.
don't need to embrace, right, immediately the values that the particular society wants to put upon us.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's one of the problems. So, like Nietzsche also says, uh, we cannot follow rules. We cannot accept blindly a morality that exists in a particular culture. You need to discover by yourself what values have really value for you and by what values you want to live by.
Yeah.
So I think that the first thing that we need to discover is what are the values that are really important for us? What are the values that I want to live for? What is really important, you know? And from there, perhaps you can build something, you know, and build something that belongs to ourselves and that we feel that is meaningful, you know, and so on and so forth. So I'm enjoying very much your conversation. I think that these very complex topics, we need to look at that from a point of sociology, economy, culture, media. All these interact with each other, right? All these create a culture. And in the end, we are, you know, one individual in that culture. You know? So, yeah, I just wanted to add that. I'm enjoying very much. I'm going to keep listening.
No, I really like that
Yeah.
you speak up because we are just too. You have a lot more experience than us in life, so I think
I'm
it's,
just older.
yeah, but that's what I was talking about. Like experience is the only thing that we can give towards the next generation. Like you can tell stories, you can say how you saw it, and then they make their own story about what you're saying to them.
Each person needs to live their own life. So what I'm saying does not replace the experience of each person, right?
No, no.
You are going to have to discover your truths, and that's the thing. I think that, and this is the difference between those who are seekers. We want to know. You'll never find the truth. You'll never find the truth. You'll never achieve it, but you want to get it always a bit closer, right? To get it a bit always closer. Some people have this need, others don't. Uh, and because some people have this need to find this truth, inner truths and truths about the world, they suffer more than the ones that accept a particular culture, fit in, everything goes linear, and life seems okay, right? But are just two ways, I think, of approaching life in the end.
It's like following and just don't think about it and everything will happen.
Yeah.
And find your own.
Yeah.
But I was like, also thanks for sharing. It's very interesting. But I was wondering when you said about like societies bringing some like a construct of how to be and how to live upon you. Do you think that people have like intrinsical opinions about it, which are like squashed by like the society that's forcing it to?
Yeah, I think that, yeah, it's a good question. I think that here is important. This is why we speak so much nowadays about critical thinking, right? Critical thinking. Thinking critical about something, you have the ability to reflect upon a topic. And I think that your channel is all about that. So I think that everyone, some more than others, are inquisitive. We want to know. But then there are some cultures, and everything starts with education and the school. You know, as I wrote, we are taught to do things very well technically, but people don't really tell you, learn who you are as soon as possible. You know. So that should be the first step. But no, what people want to do and the school do, and that is let's make this guy a guy that will work in society, that has a function and will fit in society and will contribute to society, even if that is at expense of his happiness, fulfillment, and so on and so forth. So there is a book very interesting I would like to recommend that is about, from Marcuse. It was a philosopher. Is Eros and Civilization.
Oh.
Eros and Civilization.
Yeah.
Eros here is, although we associate to sexuality, is also about sexuality, but is about act of creation, the possibility to create, and civilization. And he writes about Eros and civilization because it seems like the more you have civilization, the less you have creative powers, and vice versa. So it seems that there is a tension between a very civilized society full of rules, but that always come at a cost.
Yeah.
So there is a balancing act always between the expression of the individual, the force, the creativity, the sexuality of the individual, and then the society. Because everything has a price. To have organization, you need to pay something to have that organization, to have that technology, and so all these things are very interesting. All of them are connected. So yeah, that's it.
That's very interesting. Yeah, yeah, but I think it's very relevant also for example, in my studies as an engineer, we were like more than 50%. So 50, not 50% of engineers that graduates will not work in an engineering field in the first, after the first 5 years, because you're from the get-go, you're like, oh, you're good at math, you're good at science, then you should do science. You would be the engineer. And so you follow this path. You don't think, who am I? What do I want? You just oh, this is what I'm supposed to do. And a lot of these people, they start to wake up, their eyes open at 22, 23 years old after their final years, and what the fuck am I doing here? And they stop 1 or 2 years before they graduate, or even afterwards. And then people are like, oh, that's so bad. You would have been such a good engineer. That's yeah, but for what? For, like you said, for just filling in the thing that society had purposed it for you. And it's so weird that I even when I was traveling and last year I was 25, even then I had this thought what do I want to do? Who am I? How can I be 25 years old and just now asking me the question, who am I? What do I want? What am I doing with my life? How is this not something I was reflecting on when I was 10 years old? It's so weird that it's all it's being pushed away. Oh no, you sort of a function. And now you're gonna do this function, and that's I know that was the way to go. Oh shit, that's my but it's weird to think about that. And yeah, sometimes I'm pretty oh, fuck society. This doesn't make sense. This is not natural. So let's just stop and live in the woods. But then otherwise, I love society. It's also
yeah. I think I understand what you say. So in
yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Unless the values of the society we are in are really not compatible with ourselves. So sometimes is the case, right? Sometimes it's the case.